PC version of Dark Souls 1, holy fucking shit. The texture detail and view distance and frame rate and load times, these make a huge difference. It looked and played miles better. But I don't think we're gonna quite get the early screenshots that we were seeing, or the awesome fucking lighting and stuff like that. It seems like we might not get that now. It's gonna look closer to the console versions than it looks to the original screenshots. You know what I'm saying there, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the console version how it looks now on one side, and you've got all those cool, really awesomely lit screenshots on the other side. I think the PC version's gonna be in the middle of that. I don't think it's gonna look as good as what we expected to begin with, but it's not gonna look like the console versions. I think that's my 2 pence. That's my 2 pence. Yes there is, and I did see your links. I've actually played that before. Sorry dude, like I said, there's a few folk I meant to reply to, and I've fucked up from not being great recently. I'll get back on the ball. But yeah, I'd already played that. It's awesome. Yeah, the Metroid 2 remake thing. And he's got his own, like, there's a couple of that same guy that does that Metroid 2 remake. He's got like another thing as well, isn't it? It's another Metroid type game as well. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. But there's a couple of Metroid fan games that you can get from that same guy on that same page. And I've been there before and got them both. Very good. Do you know when I went and actually looked at it? Was when I was doing the Metroid ROM hacks. That's when I went and looked at it. When I was browsing around and shit like that, I found it then. It looks very good, very good. I was actually going to do an indigestion on it, but then what happened? I think I started streaming more, and like I say, indigestion's just been backburnered for the moment. My first priority at the moment is getting well. My second priority is getting the streams regular again. My third priority is getting the streams mirrored over onto YouTube. And then I need to get the indigestion rolling again. Because I love the indie games are great, man. I play indie games for days rather than fucking AAA nowadays. Except for Dark Souls. Yeah, quite a lot of folk recommend Kingdom Hearts to me. I have absolutely no problem with Kingdom Hearts, but the Final Fantasy type combat system's not up my alley. Like I say, it's not like the usual kind of response to Kingdom Hearts if you don't want to play it is more along the lines of, well, I don't like the Disney characters and shit and stuff like that and blah 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 and stuff like that. It's like, well, no, that don't really bother me at all. It looks pretty funny, if anything. It's the, like I say, it's just that kind of RPG's not up my alley. It's really not. There's very few games, or some people say to me sometimes, are there any games you don't like? It's like, well, no, there is a few here and there. There is a few here and there. And the Final Fantasy kind of battle system, yeah, I think I developed an aversion to it back in the SNES days because of Secret of Mana and Zelda and Chrono Trigger. It's not Final Fantasy Star, it's an action RPG. It's not, is it? Not the Kingdom Hearts I've seen. You've got the typical kind of like attack menus and shit like that, you know, use item and stuff like that. You got like your free dudes and stuff. Could have sworn I've seen Kingdom Hearts play like a regular Final Fantasy game. Could have sworn I've seen it like a regular Final Fantasy game. I mean, maybe, like I say, maybe I'm mistaken. Quite possible. But I could have sworn it's all regular and shit like that. Oh, but it's not turn-based. Oh, it still counts. It's just a real-time battle then. It's like a TB, innit? Even Final Fantasy did that, where there's no, like, timer gauge. Well, you know, like, it carries on going regardless whether it's your turn or whatever and stuff like that. The fight carries out. Even Chrono Trigger's got that. Even Chrono Trigger can be, like, RTB and stuff like that. I'll give it a look at some point, though. Like, say, I've got Grumpy's PS3, so I'll give it a look at some point. Never know. Never know. Might actually catch me. You see, that's fair enough. Kingdom Hearts is more of a hack and slash, but it's got a Final Fantasy style menu. We see, that's what put me off. And when you look at videos and stuff like that, and you see the Final Fantasy menu, I just went, well, it's like Final Fantasy with, you know, like some Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters, and then moved on. Which was very unfair of me, really. I'm not usually that unfair, but I don't know what it is about Final Fantasy battles and stuff like that. It's like I used to like them, but I prefer to watch them. I prefer to watch Final Fantasy games than play them. Fire Emblem is good though. Oddly enough, I like Fire Emblem. We need more LPs of survival horrors. Unfortunately, all the great survival horrors are gone now. They've all been done blind. Well, not blind, but you know, HTSFL and stuff like that. I mean, what is the left? Is like Dino Crisis? I think Necro's doing Dino Crisis at the moment, actually. I think I saw on his channel that he's doing Dino Crisis 1 at the moment. But there's Dino Crisis, Resident Evil 5 and 6 at a pinch. Silent Hill 1 is very old school now, but could still be done. I can't think of any other, like, old school great survival horrors. Oh, it's Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame 1 and 2, that's pretty fucking good. I ain't played them in ages. I have to fucking buy new copies of the motherfuckers. Fuck knows where they're gone. Fatal Frame, Dino Crisis. I can't think of much other ones, you know. Like good ones. I could go back and do HTSF Gold. You know, go back and do Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 again and shit like that, and Code Veronica X and shit. That's about it, really. I can't think of much else. Like I say, unfortunately, the number of survival horror games is not kept up with the times. There's not many anymore. They don't really do so many. Oh, good night, church. Good night, sir. Yeah, I'll give Kingdom Hearts another fair try. Like I said, I was surprised when you said it's not Final Fantasy turn-based type shit. It's like, well, it looks like it when I've watched videos. There's a big Final Fantasy fucking menu there. I can see it. But, you know, now that you said that, guys, I might actually give it another look at some point. Not anytime soon. Like, I've got so many other games, great games to do at the moment. Like, you know, I think this entire year is pretty much, like, already chalked in for all the other games that I was saying earlier on. But I'll give it a fair look again at some point. I will. I'll give it a fair look at some point. Kudelka OTG, check it out. Kudelka. Kudelka, I've never even heard of that. Kudelka. Let's have a quick look at the wiki on this. A PS1 game. Developed by Saknoff. I've never heard of that. It doesn't... Wait a minute. It says developed by Saknoff, but at the same time, like, there's Infogrames and SNK on the cover of the fucking box. Fair enough. As if it's set in Aberystwyth. No way, man. Set in 1898 in Aberystwyth, Wales. The game follows the mysterious occurrences surrounding Nemeton Monastery and three protagonists who, by chance, are forced to investigate its dark history. Seems alright. Oh, fucking hell, it's actually got a pretty big wiki entry for that motherfucker. A shit ton of story entry there. Shit. That's a lot. But yeah, I'll give that a look, dude. But yeah, like I was saying, if only the survival horror had kept up. Like when I started on YouTube, is it 7 years? How long was it? I've been thinking recently, like, I think Necro was saying it's been 6 years on YouTube, and I was wondering how long exactly it's been for me. And I can find out almost, it'd have been November, roughly, of whatever year it was. So let's check out Breaker. Breaker was February 2007, so it's 2006. November 2006 was when I signed up. Oh, wait, does it say my main YouTube page? Oh, apologies if the mic breaks up. Sorry, I forgot that using Chrome makes my mic fuck up a bit. Sorry. I'm sure it says joined. Oh, here we go. God, here we go. It says nice and easy now. 28th of November 2006. Holy shit. So it's going to be what? 8 years this year? No. 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14. Holy shit. It's about 7... It's going to be 8 years in November. What the fuck? No way. 8 years? Man. Holy shit. My YouTube channel's 8 years in November. Holy fucking shit. I thought it was like 6.5 or something like that. 8 years. Wow, I've got to do something for 10 years. It's only a couple... It's 2.5 years away from 10-year anniversary. My God. My God. I had no idea. I thought it was like 6.5, under 7. It's not, it's over 7. It'll be 8 at the end of this year. Oh, Parasite Eve! As if I forgot about Parasite Eve earlier on. But yeah, like I was saying, when I started YouTube 7.5 years ago, fucking hell, there was so many good survival horror games you could have done. Like, there'd have been Parasite Eve, Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, fucking Silent Hill, all the good ones. All the good ones, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fuck. There were so many survival horror games to do. Shit tons. All kinds of ones. I mean, even if you counted, like, Fear as survival horror, there's still Fear 1 and 2? No, 2 wasn't out yet. 2 wasn't out yet. But 1 was. There was loads of survival horror games. What survival horror games could you do since? Since then? What's been the new good survival horror games? Dead Space 1, 2, and 3? Questionable, depending on who you talk to. The first game's very questionable. But I actually liked the second one. Hey, I need to do Dead Space 3. I forgot about that. I've got Dead Space 3 on Origin. I need to do that. Yeah, I definitely need to do that. I actually really enjoyed... The first Dead Space was kind of... If you turned your brain off, you'd enjoy it. Second Dead Space, however, was very good. Very good. Very, very good. Oh, Amnesia. The Dead Space series and Amnesia, yeah. I guess those were the ones that have come out since. Dead Space series and Amnesia. But that's about it, innit? There's not much more. Survival horror has been really neglected. And I don't see why. I was hoping when Amnesia did so well that a lot of AAA studios would try to emulate at least the formula. But they've really not. And I was actually talking to Claire about this the other day. I don't understand why developers are struggling so hard with horror games. You know what the formula is to horror? Do you want to know the exact, perfect horror formula? You want to know it? I'm going to tell you it. The less you see, the scarier it fucking is. It's easy. It's fucking easy. You know, you make a game... You put a couple of scares in here and there, and you make something chase you most of the time that you can't fucking see or whatever like that. It's like, that's the formula. It's fear of the unknown. If you add something in that lets the players use their imagination, the players will scare themselves. I don't understand why indie's not jumped on board. The core horror mechanics are not that difficult. Really not that difficult. I think it's harder to come up with an intricate romantic plot or an interweaving story for a game than what it's harder to come up with a good horror game. Let the players scare the shit out of themselves. That's how you do it. You put them on edge, and then you let the players almost push them off the edge into freefall, and then you put a fucking scare at the bottom of the fucking pit. Bang. Like that. It's not that hard. I don't know why they've not jumped on it. It's really a missed opportunity at the moment. It really is. Survival horror is very underutilized. I hope it comes back for a second wave. Cause shit, survival horror is what sold PlayStation units like fucking crazy. Stuff like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, they moved units of consoles. They really fucking did. Clock Tower games, yes, I forgot about that, Chillain. Clock Tower games are very old school and classic as well. On the pit idea, remember James? I do remember James. And his obsession with jumping down dark, potentially bottomless pits. I don't know why he does that. You got more balls than me. Clive Barker. He seems alright with the books, does Clive Barker, but I mean, I'm saying that I like the Hellraiser films as well. I've actually, a lot of people might not know, but there's actually more Hellraiser films than you expect. They've punched out a shit ton of Hellraiser. There was like huge gaps between Hellraisers 1, 2, 3, and 4, was it? I'm not sure. There must, do you know the overall amount of Hellraiser films now? A lot of people think there's only like 3 or 4 Hellraiser films. There's not. There's actually double-digit Hellraiser films. You go and fucking IMDb it. If it ain't double-digit, it's close. There's a lot of Hellraiser films. Some of them are alright as well, they're not too bad. It's more like... It could be like a Tales from the Crypt Keeper kind of thing, with just Pinhead showing up. It's almost like that. But they're alright, they're entertaining for an hour and a half. I have weird kind of relaxed taste when it comes to stuff. All I ask out of a movie is it entertains me for an hour and a half. As long as, same with games, stuff like that, as long as they entertain me for the duration, I'm happy. I mean, yeah, I'll point flaws out here and good things out there and stuff like that, but you know, average game, as long as it entertains me, fine. Average movie, as long as it entertains me for an hour and a half, that's fine. It's like, as an example, there's the remake of Oldboy. Now, the original Oldboy is classic and great. Absolutely fantastic film. The Spike Lee remake is also a great film. It's not as good as the original, but because it's not as good as the original, it's been laid siege to by a lot of film critics and other shit like that. And it's like, it's a good film. And it's well done. It's like, yeah, it's not as good as the original, but that doesn't make it a terrible film. It just means it's not as good as the original material. You know, it's still entertaining. It's still good. If anything, I'd say Spike Lee's version is a bit easier to follow. Obviously, because it's been done by a Western guy rather than an Eastern dude. But still, it's a good fucking film. I'd recommend watching the remake. Seriously, it's a good film. Watch the original as well, if you haven't seen the original, but... Deadly Premonition. Oh, actually, you're right. There's been a few horror films recently. Horror games, stuff like this. Deadly Premonition, somebody was saying about Outlast and shit as well. Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. But all 3 of these games, I have heard very mixed opinions. Very mixed opinions on these 3 games. Like, it tends to be, fuck, absolutely hate A Machine for Pigs. They fucking hate that game. Outlast and Deadly Premonition. Apparently Deadly Premonition's meant to be really good, like, alright, not too much of a mixed opinion on that. Outlast I've heard very mixed opinions. Some folks saying it's alright, some folks saying it's fucking dire and not worth your time. Very strange. It seems like you can, it was me saying you can't fuck up horror, it's absolutely fine, very easily done. Apparently you can fuck up. Apparently you can fuck up. Kojima, man. Kojima's fucking great. His story depth is fucking... I like how he drops politics in there as well. It's really fucking good. It's right up my fucking alley. Very convoluted and complex story with masses of... I don't even call it double-crossing in Metal Gear Solid. It's like quadruple double-cross. It's like somebody got double-crossed and they were double-crossed twice by a guy that was double-crossed by the original double-cross guy who was double-crossed by another lass or something like that. It's like... 4 people or 4 groups double crossing each other and then double crossing each other. Like I say, it ends up as like a quadruple cross. Fuck no, it's confusing. It's confusing as fuck. Sinner's Sandwich, OTG. You'll definitely want to play Deadly Premonition after seeing it. When I saw you say Sinner's Sandwich there, I thought you were on about Dark Souls 2. Shows you fucking... I have very little interest in other games at the moment, except for Dark Souls 2. However, Dark Souls is it has loosened its grip on me in the past few days. I think being unwell, not being able to play as much, it's loosened its grip on me. And still loving the absolute fuck out of it. I'd go for a second run tonight. I really would have done. I would have gone for a fucking another run, but best not. It's losing its grip into me, so I'm definitely up for doing some straight up HTSF now. I think probably what I'm going to do in the future, guys, is new game. Next time I do Dark Souls 2, it'll be New Game Plus. People have been after me for about a week, pretty much since I finished New Game. Folk wanted me to go into New Game Plus. Now I deviated off and went speedrun for a while. Well, not for a while, for a lot longer yet, but still. I want to do New Game Plus. I'm actually up for doing New Game Plus a lot now. And up for doing HTSF again. I never really stopped doing it. Dark Souls HTSF was the HTSF, so it's not like I've stopped. But you know, like some other stuff. And I honestly think I might make use of the Wii U. I went and bought it though. It fucking crippled me, that motherfucker. Cheaper than an Xbox One, but still, damn. Yeah, get the Wii U in use. And play some Super Mario. So says Mr. Stewart. Is that Mr. Patrick Stewart that you speak of there? I've watched way too much TNG recently, man. Way too much. I'm calling it TNG now. Before, it'd been like The Next Generation or something like that, or Star Trek and shit like that. It's fucking TNG now. That's how Trekkie I'm slightly becoming, man. I always worried about this. I knew this day would come. I always knew I like... Thing is that I've watched bits and bobs of the other Star Trek series, like the original Star Trek series. Deep Space Nine. Voyager. Voyager seemed more interesting near the end. Like, the beginning bit wasn't... I don't know. I watched Voyager for, like, the first season. I was like, ugh. And then I started watching it again near the end. And I actually watched the last couple of series of it. And it was alright. And I used to watch Next Generation on Bravo. Or the Sci-Fi Channel. Donkeys years ago. We're talking, like, fucking 14 years ago or something like that. Oh, yeah, Tropical Freeze. Yeah, I want to get that. I'm going to get Tropical Freeze at some point. Donkey Kong. Classic style. Nice. Yeah, I used to watch bits and bobs, but it was all scattered. You know like they used to do on TV? They didn't, like, play the season, like, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4. They just fucking play any episode. They didn't care. And I used to just catch random bits of it. I always used to catch it, like, halfway through the episode. I used to complain at the time going, do I ever catch this fucking... I never catch Star Trek at the beginning. It's always, like, a third or 2/3 of the way fucking through it. But I used to really enjoy it. It was alright. And, I thought, you know what, one of these days I'm going to get around to watching Star Trek Next Generation from the beginning, in order, all the way through. And I thought, you're probably best not doing that, dude. I'm like, why, dude? It's like, dude, if you fucking watch that, you're going to turn into a fucking Trekkie. I'm like, dude, no way, dude, no. And it's like, dude, you will. You like all that sci-fi shit, and Next Generation's pretty cool. All the characters are cool, dude. You know this. The characters are all done well, the writing's done well. It's a good fucking TV show. Even if you don't like Star Trek, it's a good TV show. And you'll turn into a fucking Trekkie. You will. It's like, nah, dude, you will, dude, nah. Dude, you will. Dude. And it was like, I knew this day would fucking come. Nah, not Trekkie. I'm not that much. Nerdy, yes. You know, Transformers and shit like that. Yeah, I can't help it. I've got a soft spot for shit like from 80s and 90s. I can't help it. 80s and the 90s. Massive fucking... Massive boner for the 80s and 90s. I don't know why. I do know why, because it was fucking great. I said that, and well, you do know why. Why'd you say that? Dude, why'd you say that? It's like, dude, I don't know. I know exactly why I love all the shit from the 80s and 90s, because it was all great. It was all original, all unique, and well done. You know, they actually fucking try, which is always a good thing. If you actually want your TV show to be good, try. It's important. It was such good TV and cartoons and movies in the 80s and 90s, and music and games. It was all fucking great back then. However, you get good games still nowadays. You occasionally get good movies nowadays, but not so much. TV shows were shit for a long time, but since Game of Thrones, Boardwalk Empire, Walking Dead... What's the other ones? Game of Thrones, Boardwalk Empire, Walking Dead. Pretty much those three have actually renewed my faith in TV shows. They really have renewed my faith. Until a few years back, the TV had been shit since the 90s. Shit. For over a decade, maybe more. TV had been shit. And then Game of Thrones and Boardwalk Empire and Walking Dead came along, and wow, nice. In fact, you know, that's the order I place it in, you know. Don't get me wrong, I love Walking Dead. I love Walking Dead, it's great. It's almost like Naruto, though. You know, that's weird. You know, it is. It's like Naruto. It's exactly like Naruto is Walking Dead. When Walking Dead is good, it's fantastic. Just like Naruto. When Walking Dead is bad, it's in its slow periods and shit like that. It's pretty meh. Which is just like Naruto. In fact, I don't even say when Naruto's in filler, it's meh, it's fucking dire. Walking Dead's not quite so dire when it's in its lull periods, but it's still a little bit slow, man. A little bit slow. So the TV is actually resurrected in the past few years. I'm hoping this year, there's already been some great games this year. And you know, the consoles, they still need time to get going and stuff like that, but there might be a few good games between the fucking consoles this year and stuff like that. You know, between all the good games coming out this year, I'm hoping that gaming is going to have a resurrection this year as well. AAA gaming. AAA gaming has been foul for at least 3 or 4 years. Pretty fucking bad. The Soul series has been it, really. Over the past generation, and I mean, there's been some other good games as well, don't get me wrong, like, but personally, the only games that I'd really rave over the last generation, console-wise, would have been the Soul series. There's been some other good games as well, like, but you know, Metal Gear Solid 4 is probably great, but, you know, I ain't played that yet, but it's been movies. Movies have been terrible for a long time, but there's always one or two. It only takes, like, 1 or 2 good movies for the year to go, well, it's not too dead, is it? But movies have been fucked for a long time. Fucking long time as well. So TV's back in full force, doing really well. And gaming seems to be... It's only 3 months in this year, and we've already had some good games. 3 months in. There's already been some really good games this year. More good games in the past 3 months than what there has been in the past 3 years overall. In my opinion. I hear this is last generation for consoles. I'd be surprised. I also think Nintendo is gone. I think Nintendo is just going to carry on plodding away in their own corner, you know. I think Nintendo has kind of gone, we'll never have the Western audience as much as the Eastern audience. So we'll never be the biggest anymore. But we do have our corner, and it's a pretty big corner. And there's still a lot of people in this corner. So we're just going to carry on plodding away, doing what we've always done. We'll make the consoles. The hardware's always going to be beaten by the next generation of consoles, but it doesn't matter. As long as we pump out the Marios and the Zeldas and the Smashes and the Metroids, stuff like that, Nintendo's always going to do alright. And Pokemon, yep. As long as they've got Pokemon, stuff like that, as No Guard says there, they'll always be alright. They can that company can stay afloat on literally 1 of 5 licenses that they've got that are huge, huge licenses. They can stay afloat on 1 of them. 2, if you want to be generous. They've still got another 2 or 3 fucking licenses after that they can use. Yeah, I mean, besides Smash Brothers, there are practically no more games planned for the Wii U because no one's wanting to develop on it. Yeah, that kind of does seem the case. Nobody wants to develop for a console that is the last generation 0.5. You know, everybody wants to... The developers want to develop for the PC and the consoles that are in this generation, not halfway towards the last generation, you know? The Wii U should have been out about a year before it actually did, and it had probably done a bit better. But the games... Nintendo's doing what Sega did. They get the hardware out early, but there's no games for it. And Sega died because of that. But Sega only had Sonic, and Sonic wasn't as big as Mario. Nintendo has Mario, it has Zelda, it has Pokemon, it has Metroid, it has Smash Brothers. It can even fall back on like Donkey Kong like it has done recently to bridge a gap. But for me personally, the Wii U is for Mario games, platformers and shit like that, which you could count Donkey Kong in there. It's for Pikmin 3 for Claire. I'll just finish that in no time. And the main two that I'm after for it were Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. Those two. Those are the main 2. I love the Mario platformers as well, so it's not too bad. But literally, It's a console for 3 different games for me. Mario games, Mario Kart, and Smash Bros. That's it. If they do a great Zelda game, sweet, I'll be there. If they do a good Metroid game, fuck me, I'll be there day one. But they're all bonuses. As long as there's some good Mario games, and Smash Bros. And Mario Kart's good, I'm happy with the Wii U.